live. This is the Difficult to Name Reading Series presents Everyone in LA Hates Poetry. I had that title because when I moved to LA, I just assumed that people like poetry because I was coming from New York, and people really don't. Like, they don't care for it, and they're proud of it. So that's why I named this. So we have 4 great poets tonight reading their work, and it's all for a great cause. So first up, to explain about the organization that we're doing a fundraiser for, and you can see in the YouTube link, there's the donate button where you could click that and click donate. And then I'm hoping we'll go to them later. Be like, how much money did you get on that night? It must have been from us, from the poetry. But to explain about that organization is Daniel Polanski. He's here from SELAH, a coalition of neighborhood organizers who recognize unhoused individuals as fellow members of our community, worthy of the same dignity, respect, and representation afforded to any housed person. So to talk about the group, give it up for Daniel.
Hi, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, you're perfect. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ryan, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I really appreciate what you guys are doing here to try to help SELAH. I'll just be very brief, and then we can get on to the poetry, which I know is what we're all here for. My name is Daniel Polanski. I'm an organizing member with the SELAH Neighborhood Homeless Organization. SELAH was founded about 3 years ago by a group of concerned citizens of the Silver Lake, Echo Park, Los Feliz, Atwater Village, and East Hollywood neighborhoods who were frustrated by the lack of governmental response in addressing the homelessness epidemic, and who hoped to make some small contribution towards improving the plight of the unhoused. Where other organizations are focused on the broader good of reducing homelessness on the city, county, and state level, our work occurs in the neighborhood, encampment, and individual level. We work to build relationships with the unhoused people in our neighborhoods, both because we feel there's some fundamental merit in doing so, and because it can sometimes help us put them in contact with more substantial forms of assistance. Our goal is to ensure these individuals have access to as much community support and political recognition as possible. Our main focus is on weekly engagement, during which teams of volunteers head out into various encampments, distributing food and water and hygiene supplies, trying to address any acute needs people may have, and putting those who are interested in touch with service workers and other sorts of assistance. We also run shower trucks at several different locations around East LA, and pre-COVID, we put on potlucks and lunches and things like that. Like everyone else, since COVID, SELAH's job has gotten a lot more difficult, but it's been inspiring to see the enthusiasm with which so many members of our community have sought to help us in our mission. Again, I want to thank Ryan for setting this up and all the poets for being a part of it. Any donations will go towards continuing SELAH's objectives of trying to improve the sad lot of the unhoused citizens of Los Angeles. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I haven't gotten off yet.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Oh, I'm not great with Zoom. This is not my.
I know. It's always, let's see.
All right. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, give it up again for Daniel. It's so funny because I usually do this at in pre-COVID times. We would do this at the Stories bookstore in Echo Park, which they are open. So, you know, that's another great organization to support. Great bookstore. Okay, our first reader's poetry has appeared in publications including Gulf Coast, Indiana Review, Narrative, New England Review, and The Offing. Her debut collection, Bridled, came out in 2018 from LSU Press. Give it up for Amy Meng. I'll wait until, okay, good. Hey, thanks, Amy.
Oh. Hi, all right. I have the YouTube video up too, so I'm just like.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have to
Inception.
like close out the YouTube because you're.
No,
You're
I'm
good.
into it.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, Ryan. It's so nice to see you, and thank you everyone for being here. This is the first time I have given a reading in quite a while, so I'm very excited to be here. Thanks to Daniel and your work at SELAH, I'm really glad to be able to participate in this reading tonight. And thanks to all you viewers at home for giving us some of your time tonight. I feel like if this reading was in New York, the title would not be Everyone in New York Hates Poetry, as you said, but Every Poet in New York Hates Themselves, which seems consistently to be true. All right, so I'll be reading 4 poems tonight from my book Bridled, which you can see here. That is a woman covered in like bird shit and butterflies, which is a good visual representation of what we're about to get into. So my name is Amy again, and I'm going to start with a poem called Permission. Permission. Those years blur like stacked wax sleeves of crackers. It didn't work. It was obvious as starched linen whipping on a mast. I was used to measuring my life against anything other than itself. Can you accept this by way of explanation? Sometimes he baked bread, and as it cooled, we hovered to hear its crackling, our ears turning close as sister flowers. Sometimes he looked at me like I was a dawn. I thought to leave there had to be nothing left, but always something shows what it was. Planes out of Newark skimmed overhead. Tomatoes on the fire escape tightened in their skins through the night. If you need a sign, I want to say, make it any of these. The next poem is called Summer I Didn't Have, and this is dedicated to coronavirus and of all of our lives during coronavirus. I'm just imagining that everyone is laughing, but
I was
can't hear
laughing.
you.
I was
Oh, thank you. I don't need the reinforcement. I have enough within myself. Summer I Didn't Have. I walked down to Charlie, the fish man, who twisted open live clams and tilted them into my mouth. My mother called and I treated her to mint gelato in the town gazebo. We listened to rose brass trombones step through the octaves. When the carnival came, I went. A calliope's jingle threaded the Ferris wheel, its rusted red buckets, while the pop of BB guns struck tin rabbits. I ate funnel cake peel by peel, tacky with confectioner's sugar. Sundays, I swilled the park's greeny air. No need to count and recount myselves. What was mine was certainly mine. Those were days full of humming without realizing I was making a song. My legs straightened in a bathtub of clean water, breath sliding sideways. Home, final inning, August. I'd never felt so safe. This is a book about a breakup that I had that feels so long ago now, and the person I was when I wrote this feels very, very distant. And so it's very interesting to look back on her. And if you're going through a terrible breakup, also know that one day you're not even gonna fucking remember what that person looks like. So there you go. After Meng. A sound drops through the slot of understanding, and everything comes into sharp focus. To leave, he made me ugly. After all, beauty is the leash. We did the favor of seeing each other clearly, though never at the same time. The monkey statuettes, mason jars of grain, each vinyl sleeved in a jacket I dusted. I moved it all over the years like a slow dance. Me and the house, this form I could hammer and open and shatter glasses in without much changing. The window panes held still, but outside, things appeared and erased themselves brutally like fun. And my last poem, thank you all again for being here and for participating in this benefit. Thank you, Ryan, again for inviting me. This is called A Theory. A Theory. When you're beautiful, they treat you like you're visible. Their eyes are quiet as yellow darts of dandelion in grass, a hallway of high school lockers. Or their lips float up, friendly and interested, as if here they feel safe. Suddenly, you're inside the homes, the dining room, being passed a roll of bread. Suddenly, they expect you to answer in the same tongue. You think of all the days before when your loneliness was a stain to be stepped over at the edge of the room, when their long necks crisscrossed above you like a canopy, keeping their language from you. I have, in the long solitude of my body, asked for something else. Even if I become the face on the magazine, I can't forget. Knowing holds a long, low note in my chest. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Amy. That was so great.
Do I just leave the Zoom now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, thanks so
Bye.
much. At home, keep it going for Amy Meng. That was so great. And Amy's collection is amazing. So definitely purchase that. And and also just wanted to remind everybody the link in the YouTube page is for SELAH to donate is there. Yes. Okay, cool. So we got 3 more great readers. I was gonna say something about like, you know, like disagreeing with Amy that like, you know, any of my exes secretly watching this, like I remember. All right. It's not like, but my current girlfriend, Gabby, shout out to her. She's great. Okay, our next reader lives and teaches in New York City. He was at the original, like nobody cares, but in 2014, Difficult to Name reading series started, and we were at an Airbnb in Chinatown, and people would come by like to take a shower while people are reading poetry and stuff. And he was there at the beginning, and I've always been a huge fan of his poetry. He received an MFA in poetry from George Mason University, and his writing has appeared in journals such as Missouri Review, Salamander, Waterstone Review, and Spork. Give it up for Brandon Lewis. I'm gonna clap. Woo. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks so much for doing this. Oh, I think you're good to go. You're unmuted. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks, Ryan, for having me. Amy was really wonderful. Those beautiful poems, and I'd like to support what you're doing here. So, yeah, thanks. So we've got some funky bedroom lighting here going on, but I've got a few poems for you. And the titles of these poems, they're coming from this project where I'm taking titles from Michel Montaigne's essays, and I'm using those as titles for the poems. So, and it might seem familiar because, you know, I'm kind of riffing on some of the pandemic-y stuff that's happening right now. So this first one is on some lines of Virgil. And this has to do with teaching too, I guess you'll see. Hello, class, boxy like me and tumbling in our endless year, mute and bruised but prepared, covered in geometry. Hello, box creaking open. My student reads a line from her poem and we hear its colors. Then another voice and another line streaks. How do we not topple over each other? And another, an improbable pulse. A voice chuckles at the lightness of it, balances it as a soap bubble evaporating. We will go singing as far as we can go as the tent hospitals rise in Central Park and the owl of Minerva flies at dusk through the rude glare of every unmade bed on screen. We are spilled across dim stars and clung to our dark, warm den, clung as so many strays tattered in song. All right. Never thought I'd be one of those poets reading from my phone, but tragically I am now. It's okay. Accepted it. So here's another one on the custom of wearing clothing. As if you ran outside without a mask, yet no one spied you in deserted midtown. No voice to say you're naked. That's how it arrives. The cloud-lit horizon present all along. The jocundity brushing past me on sky-hunting lark. Despair arrives the same, all along standing there in tight boots over the subway grate, underneath the call and response of boarded windows and the graffiti, the Mercedes heading upstate, and the cardboard house gaining new pots and pans to hang from string under the forever scaffolding. It would help to be more of a hammer and nails bent, these months touching only traces of sanitized hands and rooftop applause, the aloneness a stranger I can name. And when you use names and forms, remember they are provisional. What story will it take for nerves to forget skin and extend to clouds and earth crust? It is standing there, who I am before the world covers me. All right. And I will do one more. This is from that great era of the Soho Loft series of Ryan Sarger's lore on constancy. It's nature or economy, why the waterfall trail needs mending. We cling to the spill, one body length apart. When one stone, then 10 more give, hasten centuries of erosion. And we have yet to examine each other, our hands for the human equivalents of rock crushers, salt and birch root, lichen and ice. We are, all of us, growing volcanoes. We cannot see how our polished rings refract the exuberance of the rock slide or our summer bodies. We must decide, descend or climb back. We could almost sleep without tumbling, almost wake in the dark roar and gloriole. In the end, the cool water is never reached. We let the dust linger on our fingertips all the way through the honeymoon desert. Dragonflies drift downstream on a river, their faces staring at the sun, then suddenly there is nothing. Only river and clouds livened on your skin. Now to keep this light, the expanse and its risk, to see a cliff for what it is. All right, thank you so much for having me again, Ryan.
Thanks
for
so
doing
much.
this awesome benefit. And I'm glad to be here and hear some wonderful work.
Thanks so much, Brandon. Keep it going for Brandon. That was so beautiful. I love this. This is such a good idea. I was like beforehand, I was like, do people want a poetry reading on Zoom? And like, absolutely. Like, this is great. I'm having a great time. Okay. Also, if people just joining, the link in the YouTube is for SELAH, the organization. So please donate there. I would also like to give a what's the opposite, whatever the opposite of an endorsement is for Bud Light Seltzer Peppermint Patty. This is awful. It's like marketed as, it's like the ugly sweater edition of Bud Light Seltzer. And I had the ginger snap. That was good. And I had the, I don't know, some other one. They were both fine. This peppermint patty thing, it tastes like soap. It's very bad. So do not get that. Okay, our next reader has written 7 young adult novels in verse and 1 novel in verse for adults. The ALA, that's the American Library Association, those fucking nerds, that they have named her one of the most frequently challenged authors of the 21st century. So that's how you know she's writing stuff that is challenging people and, you know, making like teachers be like, oh, I don't know if this should be taught, but guess what? It should, because it's great. Give it up for Sonya Sones. Century. So that's how you know she's writing stuff that is challenging people and, you know, making like teachers be like, oh, I think the YouTube stuff. Oh, there it is. Okay. But guess what? It should, because it's great. Thanks so much, Sonya.
Am I on now?
Oh, yeah, you're on. Sorry. Yeah, you're on.
YouTube, because I'm speaking out to have the 2 things. So here we go. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you for having me. I loved listening to Amy and Brandon. I live in LA and I love your poetry. So, not everybody in LA doesn't like poetry. Around 25 years ago, I was really lucky to enroll in a poetry class at UCLA taught by Myra Cohn Livingston. She was like this fantastic teacher. She gave tons of homework, and once a week we would meet and share our poetry assignments with the rest of the class, and she'd comment on them. And so I very quickly became, I found my niche as the funny one in the class, and I would read a poem and everyone would laugh, and Myra would say, oh, Sonya, we bring you up, you bring us up from the depths. And I would be like, yeah, I bring them up from the depths. And I just loved that role. I totally love that role. So here's an example. I'm going to start with an example of the kind of poem I was writing in Myra's class. This was the result of an assignment to write a poem using personification, and I decided to personify my computer. Oh, Mr. MacBook Pro. I plug him in to turn him on. He's not the least bit put upon. Though wakened from his peaceful sleep, he greets me with a sexy beep. He blinks and yawns, then starts to buzz. I'm fond of all the things he does, of how his screen glows when he smiles, of all his megabytes and files. Before we met, my life was grim. I didn't mean to fall for him, but when he rested on my knees, I got an urge to stroke his keys. I flicked his switch and pressed his bar. No turning back, we'd gone too far. His discs were hard. His drives were strong. We held each other all night long. And when the sunlight filled the room, we vowed we would be bride and groom. We kept the ceremony small. I wore my flats since he's not tall. And even now his microchips can bring a fever to my lips. I'm growing rounder every day. A wee iPad is on the way. So I'm imagining all the laughter, the roaring laughter. And Myra, there's some. Anyway, Myra would give us, all kinds of assignments. But one day she gave us an assignment to write using dactyl and trochee rhythms, which are very heavy, somber rhythms. They sound like da 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 or da 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 da. And all of a sudden, I found myself writing a poem about what it was like when I was 13 years old and my older sister, Diane, who was 19, ended up in the psych ward, and how scary it was to visit her. And I was really afraid to share this poem because, it wasn't going to bring anybody up from the depths. But lucky you, I'm going to share it with you now. And when Myra heard the poem, she said, if you could write some more poems about your sister, I think that would be great. Because anybody who has anyone in their family who's throwing the whole rest of the family off kilter would be able to benefit from these poems. They'd feel less alone. And I really liked the idea of, making that happen for someone. So I kept writing the poems, and eventually they became this book, my first book. It's called Stop Pretending. And it's been out since 1999, and it's still in print. So hallelujah, hallelujah. Now I'm going to read you the poem that started it all from that assignment Myra gave us, and you can hear those rhythms all through the poem, that da 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 da. I'm going to read you a suite of poems. Hospitalized. Sister's in the psycho ward, and when I visit, I glance toward the other patients' twisted faces, quaking fingers, frightened eyes, wishing I could somehow break her out of here. Then sister starts to scream at mother, telling her how much she hates her, begging her to stop the voices chattering inside her skull. I'm feeling sick. The air's too thick. Suddenly, I'm running, stumbling, sister's demons chasing after, leering, laughing right behind me, lurching at my heels, remind me, I could have been the one. Run, sister, run. Excuse me. What it's like. When I arrive, she's on all fours, rocking back and forth, wearing a blouse over her nightgown. Leaping up, she pulls the curtains open to show me her view. Staring past the bars on her window, she shudders and yanks the curtains shut. Whipping around, she points to her mirror, shrouded with a sheet. I had to, Cookie, she says with a quick laugh. I didn't look like me. Then she freezes with hands outstretched like rabbits freeze when danger's near, and all at once she throws herself into a chair. She says this chair controls the room and all her thoughts, and all mine too. I don't know what to say. She catches me checking my watch and glares at me, hissing, don't run away so fast. But I stand up, and when we hug goodbye, neither of us wants to let go. I wonder, does the man who wanders the neighborhood wearing 3 heavy overcoats in the swelter of the summer have a little sister who lies awake at night, wondering where he is? Stop pretending. Stop pretending right this minute. Don't you tell me you don't know me. Stop this crazy act and show me that you haven't changed. Stop pretending you're deranged. Stop a minute. You'll remember things like they used to be when you used to read to me from Dr. Seuss in our backyard. Stop pretending right this minute. I'm your sister. Don't you tell me you don't know me. Tired. I'm tired of having a crazy sister. I'm tired of being the sister of a crazy person. I'm tired of visiting her in the hospital and of all those zombies wandering the corridors, mumbling gibberish. I'm tired of this lump in my throat and this ache in my chest and these knots that gnaw at my stomach. I'm tired of having nobody to talk to. I'm tired of walking to school alone and of walking home from school alone and of crying till my eyes look like I've walked into a door. I'm tired of my parents fighting so loud that the whole block trembles, and then of the awful silence. I'm tired of not knowing when my sister will get well, or if she ever will be well again. I'm tired of not having fun and of not getting any of the attention and of things not being like they used to be and of things being like they are and of father never hugging me and of mother always wanting me to rub her back. And I'm tired of rubbing her back and tired of listening to her weep through the bedroom wall at night and to father snoring right through it. I'm tired of trying to cheer her up and of trying to convince her that my sister doesn't really mean all those nasty things she says. I'm tired of not believing in God or in miracles or in angels or in fairies or fairy godmothers. I'm tired of being 13 and of not being 12 anymore and of wanting to help my sister and of not being able to help. Bicycle ride. I glide out onto the fresh paved road and pedal hard until the wind lifts my hair off my shoulders and a trap door at the back of my skull swings open, letting the gloom swirl out. Finally, I fly home from the hospital to share the news with my parents. She knew me today. She knew who I was, and I knew her too. She was there, really there. We talked about dreams. She braided my hair. We sat at the piano and played Heart and Soul. Today, I hated to leave. I hugged my parents, and they hugged me back, holding tight like feathers to the wing of a bird. It's been my pleasure to share these poems with you and to listen to Amy and to Brandon and to be able to participate in this thing for SELAH, which I think they're just the best organization. A bunch of beautiful people helping beautiful people. So I hope you'll donate, and thank you, Ryan, for having me. I really have loved it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonya. That was so beautiful. That was great and funny. The whole spectrum, every type of emotion I felt.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was great. Okay, so that was keep it going for Sonya. That was amazing. People are texting me. They're like, Sonya. I'm like, I know. This is great. Okay, we got one more reader. Also, I really like doing only poets. I feel like I might only do poets. Like, we've had some great essays read by angry young men about their ex-girlfriends, but like maybe never again. That's difficult to name reading series. And once again, reminder to donate to SELAH. The link is in the YouTube page. Okay, so our next reader, last but certainly not least, is a director, editor, artist, and poet. Her short film Undercover screened at film festivals around the world earlier this year, and her 2016 poetry collection is called Dime Piece. She's working on a new collection. Give it up for Shereen, Lani, Younes. Shereen, Lani, Younes.
Hi.
Hey.
Can you see me? I feel. Should I? Oh shit.
Oh yeah, I know. That happens to me too. Yeah, like if you have the YouTube.
I'm just muting the YouTube. Does that help? Oh, wait, I can see myself.
You sound fine now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored and humbled to be here. And thank you so much for Daniel and for SELAH. And thank you for everyone who's donated. This is a very important cause, really important to me and to every reader here, I know. So yeah, I hope you guys are donating. And thank you for having me, Ryan. You are so supportive of me and my poetry, and it really means the world to me. I'm going to start with a poem it's titled Limb. I pinned a branch to my wall months ago with leaves full and green. Even though it belonged in a forest, I still kept it between every last breath, teetering on the edge of life and death. The branch casts a thin shadow on my wall. I water it with lies and light so it can stretch try to leave, and grow tall. Until the night, like every night, when it has to crawl back. But I didn't think this through, because now, looking at you, colorless and drab, your leaves aching for the floor. Tell me, did I kill you, or were you already dead? Did you feel nothing for me, before or after you slept in my bed? Fun fact, that was inspired by that thing on my wall, which used to be a lively sprig of eucalyptus, and now it's dead and still. So there's that really uplifting poem to start off. My next poem I wrote kind of in the middle, or the middle of this year, like the beginning of quarantine. I wrote it in, I don't know what, it's not the middle of this year. I don't know how time works. I wrote it on March 16th. It's called Quarantine. Am I so stunted that I've simply given up trying to write? To articulate the madness, it used to be therapeutic, cathartic, or at least I would say it was, believe it was. Isn't it funny that I didn't write any poetry or love letters during and after ghosting my short-lived therapist? He wasn't particularly short, and I think he's still alive, but he was short-lived for me. I wanted him to want me in the only way I understand want, and I think he knew that, and I think he wanted me still. I don't have a therapist currently. Not that I could afford such luxury in this climate. It's cloudy and raining, which I love and is my favorite climate, but the climate I'm referring to is the climate of quarantine. Cloudy both outside and inside, my brain is mush. My overwhelming existential dread is the norm now, but I was terrified before it was cool. My anxieties have been projected onto the world without telling me they felt trapped within me, and only me. Reckless abandonment issues. I am self-isolating, not because of my usual regressions, not because I've retreated too far into myself. No, this time I have to. It's because I have to for the good of others. I'm the main character of this apocalypse. This time it's because they want me to. They want me to. Finally, my solitude is helpful and altruistic. You're welcome. Okay. Moving right along. I don't want to take up too much time. This next one is called This Isn't a Poem. And I wasn't planning on ever reading this out loud, but you know what, it's 2020. This isn't a poem. Things I want to remember, but probably shouldn't. The way you look at me, falling asleep in your arms, how tight you hold on to me, playing George Carlin when I was sad to make me feel better, holding me when I cried as George Carlin played in the background while you tried to make me feel better. The way you looked at me, is it different? The sound of your voice as you play guitar, the way you move your hands as you play guitar, the face you make, the sounds you make, holding you in the shower, our bodies touching all night, laughing with you, the layering of our limbs, massaging my shoulders, you telling me I give good massages, you're the only one who's any good, you telling me I give the best head, your lips finding mine, my lips finding yours, progress, the way your voice gets soft sometimes, your face when you smile, your face when you try not to smile, the way you look at me, is it different? My hand in yours, your hand in mine, our eyes locked during, our eyes locked after, the light feeling I felt after that one time, burying myself in you, burying yourself in me, collapsing in the after, how easy it is to be with you, how comfortable I am with myself around you, your hands on me, my hands on you, kissing your neck, your jaw, the way I feel around you, my heart racing, I don't get tired of touching you, the butterflies in my stomach have been there for nearly 4 years, how is that possible? How could they still be alive? How can I still get excited to see you at the door? How has it not gotten old, like I have, like we have? You telling me childhood memories, you reading a book out loud to me, your voice, you trying to explain the thoughts in your head, the way you laugh, the way you snort when you really laugh, making you laugh, my face in your hands, your face in my hands. You're reaching for me in the night, you're reaching for me in the morning, the way you look at me. Is it different? I can feel something. It was there before, but it's changed now, mutated within me, transfigured into a terrifying jolt. The way you look at me, the way I look at you. You must see right through me, so transparent I blend into the room, arriving just to leave again. Is it different? There are moments that defy time with you. Time stops altogether. Everything stops altogether. The way you look at me, you have to feel something too, right? The way you look at me, the way you look at me, the way you look at me. Is it different? My heart stops. Everything stops. It has to mean something. It has to mean something. It has to mean something. Postscript. It didn't mean anything. Okay, I have two more. Sorry, they're all kind of sad. I want my name to stumble out with one too many drinks, a sound you reacquaint yourself with as you fracture. It doesn't sound right, unfamiliar, far. The way it sounds in your voice, I can't say I really remember, but I remember how it made my chest tight every time. Can't recall the sound, only the tension. In my voice, your name. You never say my name. I always say yours as if to remind you, and ultimately myself, a warning. This is singular to me. Only your name exists here. It echoes. Maybe one day I can change this to past tense. But I'll admit still, I like the sound of my voice, your name. Unlike you, I won't deny, coward. I want my name to cross your mind at an intersection when the light seems to lag, an aching muscle. You'll think of me and deny. But I could have told you that. The way you'll miss me will hurt. Okay, I have one more. Thank you so much again for having me. This is called Drugs. Coming clean and getting clean maybe don't have to be related. You don't have to call it out. It's enough just to know. Why clamor for silence only to crack the glacier between us? A fault, getting in the same words, repeating the same wash. Look, you still have to rinse off after a mud bath. You're not actually clean. You're not actually clean. Listen, the withdrawal doesn't have to be profound. The withdrawal doesn't have to be a catharsis. The withdrawal doesn't have to be romantic. You might always feel a pull. That's what addiction does. And yes, writing this at 1 a.m. doesn't help your case, my case, in case that's not any clearer. I'm everyone here, you see. The withdrawal can just be. Besides, your blood is still polluted. It takes a while, I've heard. That's what they say. I do love the clouds though. No, focus. The grip tightens. Don't let yourself careen off like you always do. Tempting. The slightest nudge of the steering wheel. That's not it. Adrenaline isn't a feeling. Adrenaline isn't a feeling. Adrenaline isn't a feeling. A temporary, fleeting fix. The withdrawal can just exist in you. A sadness unclaimed, unresolved. A pull. Claim it if it makes it easier. Name it if it makes you understand. It's yours. Certainly did a number, but I'm possessive about my spirals. Let it be, let it go. In my withdrawal, I'll withdraw. One of us had to commit, finally, to the after. And those are the poems that I read. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Shereen. That was great.
Thank you, Ryan. You have always been a champion of my poetry, and I can't tell you how much it means to me.
You were the first poet in LA. I was like, oh my God, we have poets. I was like, awesome.
It really means everything to me. You have no idea. So thanks everyone for watching. If you're watching, and I really hope everyone's donating. Thanks again to Daniel from SELAH, and I'm gonna exit this now. Bye, Ryan.
Bye. Thank you.
And thank you for hosting. You're a great host.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
I did want to, we did a fact check during, first of all, keep it going for Shereen. That was awesome. We did do a fact check. Technically, March 16th was the middle of 2020. That's just how it worked out with the pandemic. So that is technically the middle of 2020. All right, so yeah, once again, thank you to our amazing readers, such great poets. Check out all their work, and the donate button on the YouTube for SELAH, that is there, and this video will stay online, so if people come back to it, they can donate then as well. And now I'm actually going to do an hour of one-man improv. So if any, no.